My parents locked me outside in winter for years until my body stopped feeling cold. So I destroyed their house with mold and never looked back. They spent the next 3 years fabricating evidence until the FBI arrested them. The manila envelope arrived on a Tuesday morning while I was at school. Inside were printed emails, dozens of them, supposedly from my account to various online friends. The messages described in detail how I wanted to hurt her, how I'd been planning it for months. There were screenshots too, search histories full of queries about elder abuse laws and how much money people inherit when their grandparents die. She was sitting at the kitchen table when I got home, the papers spread out in front of her like evidence at a crime scene. Her face had that same look Mom used to get right before locking me outside, a mixture of disappointment and barely contained rage. "Sit down," she said, not looking at me. I dropped my backpack and slid into the chair across from her. The afternoon sun caught the edges of the papers, making them glow. "What is this?" I asked, though I could already see my name on the emails. "You tell me." She pushed one of the printouts toward me. "This is your email address, isn't it?" I picked up the paper. The email was dated 3 weeks ago, sent to someone named Mark47. It talked about how my grandmother was old and weak, how easy it would be to make her fall down the stairs. My stomach twisted. "I didn't write this," I said. "Your name, your email, your IP address." She tapped another paper. I had my neighbor look at it. He works in computers. I grabbed more of the papers, scanning them frantically. Each one was worse than the last. Discussions about poisoning food, about pushing her in front of cars, about waiting until she was asleep and holding a pillow over her face. The search history showed queries I'd never made about inheritance laws in our state, about how to contest wills, about what happens when grandparents die without other family. "Grandma, I swear I didn't do any of this. Someone made this up. Who would do that? Who even knows you live here?" The answer hit me like ice water. My parents. They'd been silent for 3 months, and I'd been stupid enough to think they'd given up. "Please, you have to believe me. Look at the fonts. They're not even consistent. And this timestamp here, that was when I was in school. You can check with my teachers." She stood up slowly, gathering the papers back into the envelope. "I need time to think about this. Grandma, go to your room." I spent the next 2 hours pacing, trying to figure out how to prove my innocence. The emails were good fakes, but there had to be flaws. I opened my laptop and logged into my actual email account, but of course there was no record of the messages. They'd been created completely outside my account. At dinner, my grandmother barely looked at me. She pushed food around her plate while I tried to eat, though every bite felt like sand. "I called your parents," she said finally. My fork clattered onto my plate. "What?" "They're very concerned about you. They said you've been showing signs of violence for years, that the whole mold thing was actually you trying to poison them." "That's insane. They locked me outside in winter. You know they did." "I know what you told me, but these emails, and your father sent me photos of the mold damage. He said you admitted to doing it on purpose, because they left me alone for a week. They went to Hawaii without me." She rubbed her temples. "I don't know what to believe anymore. Believe me, please. I've never lied to you. Haven't you? You told me you discovered your cold resistance by accident, but your mother says you trained yourself to withstand it so you could hurt people without them knowing." The room spun. They'd taken every truth and twisted it into something monstrous. "I need you to find somewhere else to stay," my grandmother said quietly. "I'll give you 2 days to make arrangements." "Grandma, please, 2 days. I'm sorry, but I can't have you in my house if there's even a chance these things are true." I called Camilla from my room, whispering so my grandmother wouldn't hear. Camilla and I had been friends since middle school, back when my parents still pretended to be normal. She was the only person who'd believed me about the abuse. "Of course you can stay here," she said immediately. "My mom won't mind. Pack your stuff and I'll have Tyler pick you up." Tyler was Camilla's older brother, home from college for spring break. He pulled up in his hit-up Honda an hour later, helped me load my bags without asking questions. My grandmother watched from the window but didn't come out to say goodbye. Camilla's house was warm and chaotic in the best way. Her mom, Nora, was making dinner when we arrived, the kitchen full of steam and the sound of something sizzling. Camilla hugged me tight while Tyler carried my bags upstairs. "You can share my room," Camilla said. "Mom already said it's fine." Nora turned from the stove, wiping her hands on her apron. "Of course it's fine. You stay as long as you need, honey." For 3 days, everything felt almost normal. I went to school, came back to Camilla's house, helped with dinner and homework. Tyler set up an air mattress in Camilla's room and even let me use his old laptop when mine started acting up. Then Nora got the first phone call. I was in the living room when her cell rang. She answered cheerfully, then her face changed. She looked at me, then walked into the kitchen, lowering her voice. I could still hear fragments. "Dangerous, and evidence, and concerned for my children." When she came back, she sat down across from me. "That was your father." My chest tightened. "What did he say?" "He sent me some very disturbing emails. Says you wrote them." "I didn't. I swear I didn't. They're faking everything." She studied my face. "He seemed very concerned. Said you've been violent before. That you hurt them with mold." Camilla came downstairs then, saw our faces. "What's going on?" "Nothing," Nora said quickly. "Just adult stuff." But I could see the doubt creeping into her eyes. That night at dinner, she watched me more carefully. When I helped clear the table, she made sure she was between me and the knife drawer. Camilla cornered me in her room later. "What did my mom mean about emails?" I showed her photos I'd taken of the papers at my grandmother's house. Camilla studied them, frowning. "This is so weird. Look at this font. It changes was halfway through the sentence. I know, but my grandmother wouldn't listen. Tyler, Camilla called. Come look at this. Tyler appeared in the doorway, still in his pajamas even though it was 8 p.m. He worked nights doing IT support and kept weird hours. What's up? Camilla showed him the photos. He squinted at her phone, then took it for a closer look. These are terrible fakes, he said. Look, the font changes here, and this timestamp format is wrong for Gmail. They used military time, but Gmail displays standard time with AM PM. Can you prove they're fake? I asked. Maybe. Send me the full images. I'll check the metadata. The next morning, I woke to Nora on the phone again. This time, she was in the hallway, not even trying to hide her conversation. Yes, I understand your concerns. No, nothing's happened yet. Yes, I have children to think about. At breakfast, she barely looked at me. Camilla tried to fill the silence with chatter about school, but it felt like trying to bail out a sinking boat with a teaspoon. I think it might be best if you found alternative arrangements, Nora said finally. Mom, Camilla protested. I'm sorry, honey, but I have to think about what's best for our family. She is family. She's my best friend. The decision is made. I started to stand, but Camilla grabbed my arm. No, if she goes, I go. Camilla, don't be dramatic. I'm not being dramatic. I'm being loyal. Something you taught me to be. Tyler walked in then, laptop under his arm. Before anyone goes anywhere, you need to see this. He set the laptop on the table, showing a detailed analysis of the email screenshots. These images were created 3 days ago, not 3 weeks ago like the emails claim. The metadata is all there. Someone used Photoshop to make these. Nora leaned in, studying the screen. You're certain? Completely. And there's more. The IP address they claim is hers? It's registered to a location in Arizona. Guess where her mom lives now? The room went quiet. Nora looked at me, then at the laptop, then back at me. Your parents made these? I nodded. They're trying to make sure I have nowhere to go. They want me back under their control. Over my dead body, Nora said, and I saw where Camilla got her fierce loyalty. You're staying here, and if they call again, I'm recording everything. But my parents were just getting started. The next day, I was called to the principal's office to find 2 police officers waiting. We need to ask you some questions about threats you allegedly made, one of them said. My father had filed a restraining order. He'd submitted the fake emails as evidence, claiming I'd threatened to burn down their new house in Arizona. The officers were professional but skeptical, especially when I explained about the mold and the cold resistance. So you admit to deliberately making your parents sick? One asked. They abused me. They locked me outside in winter. Do you have proof of that? I didn't. Just my word against theirs. And they had fake documents that looked official enough to get legal attention. The restraining order meant I couldn't go back to my old house to get my things. My birth certificate, social security card, all the documents I'd need for emancipation were in my old room. It also meant my parents could claim I was a runaway if I tried to live anywhere without their permission. Then they called my job. I worked part-time at a grocery store, saving money for college. My manager pulled me aside during my shift. I got a concerning call about you, he said. Your mother says you have violent tendencies. She's lying. She sent me some emails you allegedly wrote. They're disturbing. They're fake. I can prove it. He shook his head. I'm sorry, but I can't take that risk. I have to think about the other employees and customers. I was terminated that day. 2 months of saved wages. Gone. My plan to become independent. Derailed. Camilla found me crying behind the store. She'd biked over when I didn't answer my phone. This is insane, she said, hugging me. They can't do this. They're doing it, and it's working. No, we're going to fight back. Tyler's been looking into this more. He found something. Back at the house, Tyler showed us what he'd discovered. The metadata on the images revealed more than just creation dates. It showed the registered version of Photoshop used, traced to a computer with a specific ID. I did some digging, he said. This Photoshop license is registered to your dad's disability insurance company. He must have used a work computer. Can we prove it's his? Not definitively, but it's suspicious that fake documents about you were created on a computer owned by the company that pays your dad's disability checks. It was something, but not enough. My parents had escalated again. This time, they'd filed for conservatorship, claiming my unusual medical condition was actually a sign of severe mental illness. They want to institutionalize me, I said, reading the legal notice Nora had signed for. They're saying my Raynaud's syndrome is proof I'm delusional. That's ridiculous, Nora said. You have medical records, right? At the old house, which I can't go to because of the restraining order. This is insane, Camilla said. There has to be something we can do. Nora stood up. There is. We're getting you a lawyer. I can't afford. We'll figure it out. Tyler, call your Uncle Benjamin. He does family law. Benjamin was a small man with a big presence. He listened to my story without interrupting, occasionally jotting notes. When I finished, he leaned back in his chair. Your parents are using the system against you, he said. But they're also getting sloppy. Fake documents, suspicious timing, contradictory claims. We can work with this. I don't have money for a retainer. We'll work something out. Pro bono if necessary. I don't like bullies, especially parents who abuse the system to hurt their kids. He gave me homework. Write down everything I remembered about the abuse. Every date, every incident, every witness. Think about any physical evidence that might exist. That's when I remembered the journal. I kept a diary, I said suddenly. Hidden in the heating vent in my old room. It has everything. Dates, times, even photos. Photos? I used to take pictures of myself after they locked me out, to show how long I'd been outside. They're all time-stamped. Benjamin smiled for the first time. That's exactly what we need. But how do we get it with the restraining order? conservator. Camilla and Tyler exchanged glances. "Leave that to us," Tyler said. "I didn't ask for details." "Plausible deniability," Tyler called it. All I knew was that 2 days later, he handed me my old journal, dusty but intact. "The house is being shown to buyers," he said. "Amazing how many people forget to lock windows when they're trying to sell." The journal was everything I remembered, and more. Years of careful documentation. Photos of me outside in the snow. Timestamps showing I'd been out there for hours. Detailed accounts of every punishment, every threat, every moment of calculated cruelty. Benjamin's eyes lit up as he flipped through it. "This changes everything. This is contemporary evidence. Hard to fake, easy to verify." The conservatorship hearing was set for the following week. My parents hired a lawyer with Dad's disability money, a sharp-dressed woman who specialized in mental health cases. They looked confident walking into the courtroom. I sat between Benjamin and Nora, Camilla and Tyler behind us in the gallery. My grandmother was there too, sitting in the back row, not meeting my eyes. My parents' lawyer went first. She presented the emails, the search histories, the restraining order. She painted a picture of a disturbed teenager with a dangerous fixation on cold and violence. She even had a psychological expert who'd never met me testify about how my claimed inability to feel cold was clearly a delusion. "The minor needs help," she concluded. "Intensive psychiatric help that only a controlled environment can provide." Then it was Benjamin's turn. He started with Tyler's analysis, showing how the emails were fabricated. The prosecution objected, saying Tyler wasn't a qualified expert, but Benjamin had come prepared. He'd brought in a certified forensic analyst who confirmed everything Tyler had found. "These documents were created after the minor had already left the family home," the analyst testified. "The metadata is clear." Then Benjamin brought out the journal. "Your Honor, I'd like to submit this diary as evidence. It was kept contemporaneously by my client throughout her childhood." My mother's face went white when she saw it. She whispered urgently to her lawyer, but it was too late. Benjamin showed photo after photo. Me at 8, lips blue from cold. Me at 10, huddled on the porch in a thunderstorm. Me at 12, holding a timestamp showing I'd been locked out for 6 hours. "These photos' metadata can be verified," he said. "Unlike the prosecution's evidence, these are authentic, taken on the dates claimed." My parents' lawyer tried to object, saying the photos could be fake too, but Benjamin had saved the best for last. "Your Honor, I'd like to draw your attention to this particular photo. It was me at 13, the week they went to Hawaii. In the background, barely visible, was a newspaper blown against the fence. Benjamin had enlarged it. The date was clear, matching my journal entry exactly. "This photo was taken during the week the minor's parents admit they left her alone to vacation in Hawaii," Benjamin said. "Note the timestamp. Note the weather conditions. Note that my client, a 13-year-old child, was locked outside her own home in January, while her parents enjoyed a tropical vacation." The courtroom was silent. The judge looked at my parents, then at their lawyer. "Do you have any explanation for this?" she asked. My mother broke. "She ruined everything!" Mom screamed, jumping to her feet. "That mold destroyed our lives. We had to sell the house. My health is ruined. His career is over. She did it on purpose to punish us, and she deserves to be punished back." The judge's gavel cracked like thunder. "Order!" But Mom wasn't done. "She's evil. She made us sick. She destroyed our home. All because we disciplined her. All because we tried to teach her respect." "By locking her outside in winter?" the judge asked quietly. "She could handle it. She liked the cold. She was showing off." Dad tried to pull her back down, but the damage was done. Their lawyer looked like she wanted to disappear into the floor. The judge didn't deliberate long. "I find no evidence of mental illness or danger to others from the minor," she said. "What I do find is a clear pattern of abuse, followed by an attempt to use the legal system to continue that abuse." She denied the conservatorship petition and went further. She granted my immediate emancipation, citing the extraordinary circumstances of my case. She also ordered an investigation into my parents for child abuse and filing false legal documents. "Furthermore," she said, looking directly at my parents, "any attempt to contact or harass the minor will be considered a violation of this order and will result in immediate arrest." We walked out of the courthouse into bright sunshine. I couldn't feel the warmth, but for once, that didn't matter. My grandmother was waiting by the doors. "I'm sorry," she said quietly. "I should have believed you." "They were convincing," I said. "They fooled a lot of people. Not your real family," Camilla said, linking her arm through mine. "We knew the truth." The aftermath came quickly. The investigation into my parents revealed they'd used Dad's work computer to create the fake documents, just as Tyler had suspected. Using company resources for personal fraud was a federal crime. Dad lost his disability benefits. Mom's health insurance dropped her for fraud when they learned she'd lied about the cause of her allergies. They were both convicted 6 months later. Child abuse, fraud, filing false reports, conspiracy. The judge gave them probation, but they had to register as child abusers, meaning they could never have custody of children again. I moved back with my grandmother. She helped me get my documents, get my job back, start preparing for college. The grocery store manager apologized and gave me a raise. Turns out he'd been getting suspicious when my parents kept calling with new accusations. I wrote my college essay about patience and evidence, about how abusers rely on disbelief and silence, about how documentation and truth can overcome even the most elaborate lies. I got a full scholarship to a state school with a good pre-law program program. At graduation, I wore a t-shirt under my gown while everyone else bundled up in coats. The local news did a fluff piece about the girl who couldn't feel cold, how I'd overcome adversity. They didn't mention the abuse or the trial. That was fine. Some stories don't need to be public. My grandmother framed two things that summer: my high school diploma and my emancipation papers. She hung them side by side in the hallway. Evidence, she said when I asked why. Proof that truth wins in the end. I touched the frames, thinking about all the evidence my parents had fabricated, all the lies they'd told. In the end, their own words had condemned them. The truth, preserved in a dusty journal hidden in a heating vent, had set me free. I still can't feel cold the way others do. My body remembers those nights on the porch, remembers adapting to survive. But I'm not broken. I'm proof that sometimes the best revenge isn't destroying someone else. Sometimes it's simply surviving long enough to tell the truth. The summer after graduation passed in a blur of college preparations and therapy sessions. My grandmother insisted on the therapy, and I didn't fight her. Dr. Martinez specialized in trauma recovery, and she helped me understand that my body's adaptation to cold was both a survival mechanism and a constant reminder of what I'd endured. Your nervous system rewired itself, she explained during one session. It's remarkable, really. Most people with Raynaud's experience pain and numbness. Your body found a different path. I was packing for college when the first letter arrived. No return address, just my name written in careful block letters. My grandmother brought it in from the mailbox, frowning. Were you expecting anything? I shook my head, tearing open the envelope. Inside was a single sheet of paper with one line. You think you've won, but this isn't over. My hands didn't shake. After everything, an anonymous threat felt almost quaint. I showed it to my grandmother, who immediately called Benjamin. Keep it, he advised over the phone. Document everything. If more come, we'll file a police report. 3 more letters arrived that week. Each one escalated slightly. You destroyed our lives. We know where you're going to college. You can't hide forever. The handwriting was disguised, but I knew it was them. The restraining order meant they couldn't contact me directly, but apparently anonymous letters fell into a gray area. Camilla helped me move into my dorm in August. Her parents drove us up in their minivan, Tyler following in his Honda with the overflow. My roommate, Victoria, seemed nice enough, pre-med major from 2 states away who kept her side of the room meticulously organized. You're the girl from the news story, she said after Camilla's family left. The one who can't feel cold. That's me, I said, unpacking my clothes. Must be useful in winter. Sometimes. I thought college would be a fresh start. New city, new people who didn't know my history. For the first month, it was. I threw myself into classes, joined study groups, even went to a few parties. My inability to feel cold became a party trick, holding ice cubes longer than anyone else, wearing shorts when everyone else bundled up. Then the emails started. Not to me. The restraining order covered electronic communication. Instead, they went to my professors. Anonymous tips about a dangerous student who had a history of violence and documented mental health issues. My biology professor, Dr. O'Catherine, called me to her office on a Thursday afternoon. I received a concerning email about you, she said, gesturing for me to sit. Normally, I'd dismiss anonymous accusations, but it included some rather specific claims. My stomach dropped. What kind of claims? She turned her monitor toward me. The email was lengthy, detailing how I'd poisoned my family with toxic mold and fabricated evidence of abuse. It included attachments, the same fake emails my parents had created, but now with additional commentary about how I was a master manipulator who had fooled the legal system. This is harassment, I said. My parents, your parents? Dr. O'Catherine leaned back. The email claims to be from a concerned citizen. My parents are under a restraining order. They're not supposed to contact me or interfere with my life. They're doing this to sabotage my education. She studied me carefully. Do you have proof of this restraining order? I pulled up the court documents on my phone, showing her the judge's ruling. She read through them, her expression shifting from skepticism to concern. I see, she said finally. Well, I'll disregard the email, but you should know I'm not the only professor who received one. By the end of the week, every one of my professors had gotten similar emails. Some dismissed them immediately. Others grew wary, watching me more carefully during class. My chemistry professor started calling on me less. My English professor stopped making eye contact. I called Benjamin, who was furious. This is a clear violation, he said. We'll file a motion for contempt of court. But proving my parents sent the emails was nearly impossible. They'd learned from their mistakes. These new emails came from different IP addresses, probably public computers or libraries. The writing style was generic, careful to avoid any identifying phrases. The campus rumors started next. Somehow, word spread that I was the subject of anonymous warnings. Stories grew in the telling. By October, half the campus believed I'd tried to kill my parents. The other half thought I was some kind of victim turned vigilante. Victoria requested a room change. It's nothing personal, she said while packing. But my parents are worried. They saw the news stories and the news stories that cleared me of any wrongdoing. Still, they think it's better if I have a different roommate. She moved out that weekend. The housing office didn't assign me a new roommate. When I asked why, they cited ongoing concerns and the comfort of other students. I was isolated again, just like my parents wanted. Camila visited in November, taking the bus down for a weekend. She found me in my dorm room, surrounded by textbooks and empty coffee cups. pimples. You look terrible, she said, pulling me into a hug. Thanks, that's what I was going for. She spent the weekend trying to cheer me up. We went to movies, tried new restaurants, walked around campus, but everywhere we went, I felt eyes on me. Whispers followed us through the dining hall. Ignore them, Camila said. They don't know the truth. The truth doesn't matter if everyone believes the lies. My grades started slipping, not dramatically, but enough that my scholarship was in jeopardy. I met with my advisor, who suggested I take a lighter course load. Sometimes personal issues require us to slow down, she said carefully. There's no shame in taking an extra semester or two. I can't afford extra semesters. I need this scholarship. Then perhaps you should consider addressing the distractions in your life. I knew what she meant. Make the anonymous emails stop. Make the rumors go away. Make myself normal. The breaking point came in December, right before finals. I was studying in the library when campus security approached. We need you to come with us, one officer said quietly. Why? What's wrong? There's been a complaint. We need to check your dorm room. They escorted me across campus, students staring and pulling out their phones. In my room, they searched everything while I watched. They found nothing, because there was nothing to find. What was the complaint? I asked as they prepared to leave. Someone reported you might be creating hazardous materials, something about mold cultivation. My parents had escalated again. Now they were trying to get me expelled. I called Benjamin from the hallway while other students peered out their doors. This has to stop, I said. They're destroying my life all over again. We need proof it's them, he said. Without that, our hands are tied. Then I'll get proof. I spent winter break at my grandmother's house plotting. My parents thought they were clever, using public computers and anonymous emails. But they'd made one mistake. They were creatures of habit. Dad always woke up at 5:30 a.m., even on disability. Mom did her grocery shopping on Tuesday mornings. They were predictable, and predictability was a weakness. I couldn't approach them directly. The restraining order worked both ways. But Tyler had taught me about metadata and digital footprints. If I could catch them in the act of sending one of these emails, I'd have my proof. You're not seriously thinking of stalking them, Camila said when I explained my plan over video chat. Not stalking, investigating. There's a difference. A legal difference? I'll be careful. But careful wasn't enough. 2 weeks into the spring semester, I got a call from the dean's office. When I arrived, my parents' lawyer was sitting across from the dean, a folder thick with papers on the desk between them. Ms. Louisa here has brought some serious allegations to our attention, the dean said. His voice was neutral, but his eyes were cold. Let me guess, I said. Anonymous emails about my dangerous behavior? Not anonymous, the lawyer said smoothly. We have sworn affidavits from concerned citizens who've observed troubling behavior. She pulled out the papers. 3 affidavits from people I'd never heard of, all claiming to have seen me exhibiting threatening behavior and signs of mental instability. The descriptions were vague but damning. This is fabricated, I said, just like the emails they created before. That's a serious accusation, the lawyer said. Do you have proof these affidavits are false? Do you have proof they're real? Who are these people? How do they know me? The dean held up a hand. The university takes student safety seriously. We'll need to conduct a full investigation. While that investigation is ongoing, the lawyer added, we believe it would be prudent for the student to take a leave of absence. You want me to leave school based on fake accusations? No one's forcing you to leave, the dean said carefully. But given the serious nature of these allegations, it might be in everyone's best interest. I saw the trap. If I stayed, every minor mistake would be scrutinized. If I left, it would look like an admission of guilt. Either way, my parents won. I need to speak with my attorney, I said. Of course, you have 48 hours to provide a response. I walked out of the office in a daze. 3 years of freedom, and my parents had found a way to drag me back down. They couldn't lock me outside anymore, but they could lock me out of my own life. Benjamin was livid when I called him. Sworn affidavits? They're getting bolder. Can we challenge them? We can try, but it'll take time, and meanwhile you're losing a semester of school. I sat in my dorm room that night, staring at the walls. My parents had spent months planning this, creating a paper trail of concerned citizens and worried observers. They'd learned from their first attempt. This time, the lies were more sophisticated. My phone buzzed. Tyler, I found something, he said without preamble. Remember how I traced the Photoshop license before? I've been monitoring that computer's activity, and someone's been accessing it remotely. Late nights, early mornings. The access logs show a pattern. My heart raced. Can you prove it's them? Not definitively, but the access times match your dad's old schedule. 5:30 a.m. sharp every time. It was something, but not enough. I needed more. Tyler, those affidavits. Can you find anything about the people who signed them? Send me the names. I'll see what I can do. While Tyler worked his digital magic, I focused on damage control. I met with each of my professors, explaining the situation. Some were sympathetic. Others remained skeptical. Dr. O'Catherine surprised me by becoming an ally. I've seen this before, she said. Not exactly this, but parents who can't let go, who need to control their children even into adulthood. What can I do to help? Just don't believe the lies, I said. I deal in facts and evidence, she replied. Show me evidence, and I'll believe that. Tyler called back 2 days later, excitement in his voice. The 3 people who signed affidavits, they don't exist. What do you mean? The names are real, but they're stolen identities. One died 5 years ago. Another lives in Japan and has never been to the US. The third is in a nursing home with advanced dementia, so the affidavits are definitely fake, completely fabricated. But here's the interesting part. All 3 identities had their information compromised in the same data breach 2 years ago. Guess which company was breached? reached. My pulse quickened. Tell me, your dad's disability insurance company. The pieces clicked together. Dad had access to compromised identities through his work computer. He'd used them to create fake witnesses, probably figuring no one would check too deeply. Can you prove he accessed those specific records? Working on it. But this is good, right? This proves the affidavits are fake. It was more than good. It was the beginning of their undoing. I met with Benjamin the next morning, showing him everything Tyler had found. His eyes lit up as he reviewed the information. This is what we needed, he said. Identity theft, fraud, violation of a restraining order. Your parents just handed us everything. Is it enough to stop the university investigation? More than enough. But I think we should go further. They've escalated. It's time we did too. We filed a criminal complaint that afternoon. Identity theft across state lines made it a federal matter. The FBI wouldn't prioritize it immediately, but the complaint would start a paper trail. The dean wasn't happy when Benjamin presented our findings. You're saying these affidavits are completely fraudulent? The identities were stolen from a data breach, Benjamin explained. The real people either can't or didn't make these statements. It's a sophisticated fraud, but fraud nonetheless. The university dropped their investigation immediately. They couldn't afford to be associated with identity theft, but the damage was done. The rumors on campus intensified. I was now the girl whose parents tried to frame her. Some students sympathized. Others thought the whole thing was too bizarre to be real. I heard whispers everywhere I went. She must have really messed them up. Nobody's parents go that crazy without reason. I heard she poisoned them. I heard they tortured her. The truth was lost in the noise, which was exactly what my parents wanted. Spring break arrived with another surprise. My grandmother called, her voice shaking. I'm selling the house, she said. What? Why? I've been getting calls, anonymous ones. They describe things they'll do to me if I keep harboring a dangerous person. My blood ran cold. Grandma, it's them. You know it's them. I know, but I'm 73 years old. I can't live in fear. Don't let them win. It's not about winning. It's about peace. I'll get a condo in a secured building, somewhere with cameras and guards. Another victory for my parents. They'd driven me from my home, tried to drive me from school, and now they were driving away the one family member who'd stood by me. I spent spring break helping her pack, each box a small defeat. We found old photos, including some from before I was born. My parents looked young and happy, normal even. They weren't always like this, my grandmother said, studying a picture of my mom holding me as a baby. Something changed when you were about 5. They became obsessed with control. What happened when I was 5? She hesitated. You got sick, very sick. They thought they were going to lose you. After you recovered, they were different, paranoid, controlling, like they thought they could prevent anything bad from happening if they just controlled everything. So they locked me outside? I think in their minds, they were making you strong, preparing you for a harsh world. But somewhere along the way, it became about punishment instead of protection. It didn't excuse anything, but it was the first explanation that made sense. Their love had twisted into something toxic, and when I'd finally fought back, they couldn't accept it. The condo sale went through quickly. I helped my grandmother move into a 1-bedroom apartment in a building with security. It was nice enough, but it wasn't home. I'm sorry, I said as we unpacked her dishes. For what? For bringing this chaos into your life. She took my hands in hers. You didn't bring chaos. You brought truth. Sometimes truth is messy. I returned to school determined to finish the semester strong. My grades recovered slowly. I threw myself into studying, using academic success as armor against the whispers. Then Tyler called with urgent news. They made a mistake, he said. A big one. What kind of mistake? Remember how I was monitoring that work computer? Someone accessed it yesterday to create new documents, but this time, they forgot to use a VPN. I have their actual IP address, and it traces directly to your dad's brother's house, where your dad lives now. Finally, direct evidence linking my parents to the fraudulent documents. Benjamin was ecstatic when I told him. This is it, he said. This is what we need to prove pattern of harassment. With the identity theft charges already filed, this could mean serious jail time, but my parents weren't done. The next day, I woke to find my car vandalized. Nothing dramatic, just scratches along the side that spelled out liar. Campus security took a report, but without cameras in that section of the parking lot, there was no proof of who did it. Camila visited again that weekend, bringing Tyler with her. We sat in my dorm room strategizing. They're getting desperate, Tyler said. The vandalism is risky. They're making mistakes. Or they're escalating towards something worse, Camila worried. I stared at the scratches on my car through the window. My parents had taken so much from me. My childhood, my sense of security, my college experience, but they hadn't taken my resilience. Let them escalate, I said. I survived 18 years of their abuse. I can survive this too. Tyler pulled out his laptop. I've been thinking. They're using technology against you, but they don't really understand it. What if we use that against them? What do you mean? They think they're anonymous when they send these emails and create these documents, but they're leaving digital footprints everywhere. We just need to collect them all in one place. He showed us a program he'd written. It aggregated data from multiple sources, email headers, document metadata, IP logs, even social media posts. When compiled, it created a clear pattern of behavior. This is like a digital fingerprint, he explained. Each action they take adds to the pattern. Eventually, it becomes undeniable. Is this legal? Camila asked. All public information, Tyler assured her. I'm just organizing what's already out there. We spent the weekend adding data to the program. Every email to my professors, every fraudulent document, every timestamp. The pattern pattern that emerged was damning. Look at this. Tyler pointed to a cluster of activity. Every major escalation happens right after you achieve something. You get into college, they send the first letters. You make Dean's List. They contact your professors. You fight back. They file false affidavits. They can't stand to see me succeed, I realized. More than that, Camilla said. They need you to need them. Every time you prove you don't, they attack. The revelation was both clarifying and terrifying. My parents weren't just angry about the mold or the house. They were angry that I'd survived without them, that I'd thrived despite them. My phone rang. Benjamin, are you sitting down? He asked. Should I be? The FBI responded to our complaint. They're opening an investigation into the identity theft. They want to interview you next week. Relief flooded through me. Finally, authorities who could do something. There's more, Benjamin continued. Your parents must have gotten wind of it. They've hired a new lawyer, a big firm this time. How can they afford that? I'm wondering the same thing. Be careful. Big firms mean big tactics. The FBI interview was straightforward. Two agents, McCatherine and McJonathan, took my statement in a small office downtown. They'd already reviewed the evidence Benjamin had submitted. This is an unusual case, Agent McCatherine said. Parents don't typically go to these lengths. My parents aren't typical, I replied. We've seen the pattern of behavior. What we need to understand is motive. Why do you think they're doing this? I thought about my grandmother's words. Control. They need to control me. And when they couldn't physically anymore, they found other ways. Agent McJonathan nodded. We've seen similar patterns in stalking cases. The escalation concerns us. You think they'll do something worse? People who feel cornered often do. We're going to recommend increased monitoring of their activities. I left the interview feeling both validated and worried. If the FBI was concerned about escalation, what did that mean for my safety? The answer came 2 weeks later. I was walking back from the library when I noticed a car following me. Not obviously. It stayed back, turned when I turned, always keeping distance. But it was there. I ducked into a coffee shop and called campus security. By the time they arrived, the car was gone. But I'd gotten a partial plate number. Tyler ran it through his databases that night. It's a rental, he said. Paid for in cash. But the rental agreement, the handwriting looks familiar. He pulled up an image. The signature was disguised, but certain letters had distinctive loops. We compared it to documents we knew my dad had signed. It's him, I said. He's here. He's watching me. This violates the restraining order, Camilla said. He can be arrested for this. But when campus security pulled the footage, the car was always just far enough away to claim coincidence, never close enough to prove stalking. My parents had learned to skirt the edges of the law. I started varying my routes, checking over my shoulder, carrying pepper spray. The familiar hypervigilance from childhood returned. Every stranger could be a threat. Every car could be them. Finals week arrived with a new challenge. I walked into my chemistry exam to find a note on my assigned seat. Drop out now, or we'll make you. I showed it to the professor, who was alarmed enough to let me take the exam in her office. But the damage was done. My concentration was shot. I barely finished in time. More notes appeared. In my mailbox, under my dorm door, tucked into my car windshield. Always the same message. Leave school or face consequences. Benjamin filed for an emergency protective order, but the judge wanted proof the notes came from my parents. The handwriting is disguised, she said. Without concrete evidence linking them to these threats, I can't expand the existing order. I was trapped in a legal limbo. Everyone knew it was them, but knowing and proving were different things. Then Victoria called. My former roommate sounded nervous. I got a letter, she said, about you. It says if I don't provide a statement about your unstable behavior, they'll release information about my family. What information? My dad had an affair years ago. Somehow they know about it. They have photos. My parents had crossed a new line. They were blackmailing other students to build their case against me. Don't do it, I told her. This is extortion. We need to go to the police. I can't. If this gets out, it'll destroy my family. Victoria, they're criminals. They're only going to escalate. But she was too scared. She hung up and didn't answer when I called back. How many others had they contacted? How many students were being pressured to lie about me? The answer came during finals week. The dean called another meeting. This time, he had 7 sworn statements from students claiming I'd exhibited threatening behavior. This is a pattern we can't ignore, he said. Benjamin was with me this time. Have you verified these students' claims? Have you asked why they all came forward at the same time? Students often find courage in numbers, the dean replied. Or they're being coerced, Benjamin shot back. We have evidence that at least one student was blackmailed into providing a statement. The dean's expression shifted. That's a serious accusation. This entire situation is serious. My client is being systematically harassed by parents who've already been found guilty of abuse. The university is being used as a weapon against her. If you have proof of blackmail, we're gathering it, Benjamin said. In the meantime, any action against my client based on these suspicious statements would be premature and potentially legally actionable. The threat of a lawsuit made the dean pause. We'll suspend any decisions pending your evidence. Another temporary reprieve. But I was exhausted. Every day brought new battles, new lies to fight. My parents had unlimited time and apparently unlimited resources to destroy me. Where are they getting the money? I asked Benjamin as we left the meeting. That's what I'm trying to find out. The paper trail is complex, but I think they're being funded by someone else. Who would fund this? That's the million-dollar question. Tyler had been digging into my parents' finances. What he found was disturbing. Your dad's brother sold his house 6 months ago, he reported. Got way more than market value. The buyer was a shell company that traces back to a law firm. The same firm representing them? Bingo. They're essentially funding your parents' harassment campaign in exchange for something. For what? Tyler pulled up more documents. The firm specializes in cases involving unusual medical conditions. They've been collecting data on rare adaptations to trauma. My blood chilled. They're using me as a case study? It looks like it. Your condition, the inability to feel cold, it's medically unique. If they can prove you're mentally unstable, they can argue the condition is psychological, not physical, and use that in other cases to discredit abuse victims with trauma adaptations, Benjamin finished. This is bigger than just your parents' vendetta. The revelation changed everything. I wasn't just fighting my parents anymore. I was fighting a legal firm that saw me as a test case, a way to invalidate trauma responses in future lawsuits. We need to go public, Camilla said when I told her. People need to know what's happening. No, I said. That's what they want. If I go public, they'll use it as evidence of instability. Look how paranoid she is, thinking there's a conspiracy against her. So what do? We gather evidence, we document everything, and we wait for them to make a mistake they can't explain away. The mistake came sooner than expected. In their eagerness to pressure more students, my parents had gotten sloppy. They'd sent blackmail letters to 5 more students, all from the same post office, all on the same day. One of those students was Jonah McJonathan, a computer science major who'd taken Tyler's cybersecurity class the previous semester. Instead of being intimidated, he was intrigued. This is textbook social engineering, he told me when we met. But they messed up. They used the same printer for all the letters. Printers leave microscopic identifying marks. He'd kept his letter and convinced 2 other recipients to share theirs. Tyler analyzed them and confirmed they'd all come from the same machine. Now we just need to find that printer, Tyler said. It took a week of detective work, but Jonah found it. A print shop 6 blocks from where my dad's brother lived. The owner remembered Dad because he'd paid in cash and acted nervous. He said he was printing flyers for a lost dog, the owner told us. But the way he was acting, I knew something was off. We had him. Direct evidence linking my parents to the blackmail letters. Benjamin filed criminal charges immediately. The FBI moved fast after that. The blackmail crossed state lines, making it federal. They arrested both my parents on a Thursday morning, pulling Dad from his brother's house and Mom from her apartment in Arizona. The law firm tried to distance themselves immediately, claiming they had no knowledge of their client's illegal activities. But the money trail Tyler had uncovered suggested otherwise. I watched the news coverage from my dorm room, feeling numb. After 2 years of harassment, it was ending where it had started, with my parents facing consequences for their actions. But the damage was done. My college experience was tainted. My reputation was in shambles. My grandmother had been driven from her home. The victory felt hollow. It's not over, Benjamin warned. They'll make bail. The trial could take years, and that law firm isn't going away. He was right. My parents posted bail within days, though the conditions were strict. No contact with me, no computer access, no leaving the state. But I knew they'd find ways around the restrictions. They always did. The university, embarrassed by the scandal, offered me a deal. Transfer to their sister campus in another state. Full scholarship. Fresh start. All I had to do was sign a non-disclosure agreement about the harassment. They want to buy your silence, Camilla said when I told her. Maybe silence is what I need, I replied. A chance to disappear, start over where they can't find me. Running away isn't winning. Neither is staying and fighting forever. I had a week to decide. Transfer and hide, or stay and fight. Both options felt like losing. The decision was made for me when I returned to my dorm to find my door slightly open. Nothing was missing, but everything had been moved slightly. My papers reorganized. My laptop in a different position. My clothes refolded. Someone had been in my room. Someone who wanted me to know they'd been there. Campus security found no evidence of forced entry. The key card logs showed only my access, but I knew. My parents had found a way in, restraining order or not. That's it, I told Benjamin. I'm taking the transfer. You're letting them win. No, I'm choosing to survive. There's a difference. I spent my last week on campus saying goodbyes. My professors understood. Dr. O'Catherine even wrote me a glowing recommendation for the transfer. Don't let them define you, she said. Your adaptation to cold isn't the most remarkable thing about you. Your resilience is. Tyler and Camilla helped me pack. We didn't talk about the future, about how the distance would change our friendship. Some things were too painful to voice. My grandmother drove me to the airport. We sat in the departure lounge, watching planes take off. I'm proud of you, she said, for running away, for surviving, for knowing when to fight and when to find peace. That's wisdom. It feels like cowardice. Cowardice would be letting them destroy you. You're not destroyed. You're regrouping. My flight was called. I hugged her goodbye, promising to call when I landed. As I walked toward the gate, I felt the familiar chill of air conditioning that I couldn't really feel. My body's adaptation had saved me once. Now I was hoping distance would do the same. But I knew, deep down, that geography wouldn't stop my parents. They'd spent 2 years proving that their reach extended far beyond physical proximity. The transfer was just a pause, not an ending. As the plane lifted off, I pressed my face to the window, watching my old life shrink below. Somewhere down there, my parents were planning their next move. The law firm was strategizing. The truth was being twisted into new shapes, but I was done being their victim. The next chapter would be different. I'd learned their tactics, understood their patterns. I had allies who who believed in me, and evidence that proved my truth. The war wasn't over. It was just moving to a new battlefield, and this time, I'd be ready. The new campus was smaller, tucked into mountains 3 states away. I'd picked it specifically because the law firm had no presence there, no connections, no influence, no way to manipulate the system against me. My new roommate, Vita, was studying forestry. She spent most nights in the lab or out doing field research, which suited me fine. I kept my head down, attended classes, avoided making waves. For 2 weeks, it worked. Then I got a text from Tyler. "Check your email, now." I opened my laptop to find a message from him with attachments. Screenshots of a new website. The Truth About Cold Girl. My stomach dropped as I scrolled through it. The site was sophisticated, professional design, SEO optimized, already ranking on the first page of search results for my name. It contained every piece of fabricated evidence my parents had created, presented as fact. The fake emails, the doctored screenshots, even transcripts of the anonymous tips to my professors. But they'd added new content. Photos of me from campus, clearly taken without my knowledge. A section called Victim Stories, with anonymous accounts from people claiming I'd threatened them. Links to psychology articles about cold psychopathy and temperature delusions. Tyler called while I was still reading. "I'm trying to get it taken down," he said, "but it's hosted offshore. Multiple mirrors. They've made it nearly impossible to remove." "How did they even know where I am?" "Your transfer paperwork. It's technically public record. They must have been watching for it." I closed my laptop, fighting the urge to throw it across the room. Even 3 states away, they'd found me. Even with criminal charges pending, they were escalating. Benjamin called next, equally furious. "This is witness intimidation," he said. "They're trying to poison any potential jury pool. I'm filing for an emergency injunction. Will it work? Honestly, probably not. First Amendment protections are strong. Unless we can prove the content is false and defamatory. It is false and defamatory. I know that. You know that. But legally, they're presenting it as opinion and interpretation. It's carefully worded to avoid outright lies." I hung up and sat in my empty dorm room, staring at the walls. The website would follow me forever. Any employer, any friend, any potential romantic partner who Googled my name would find it. Camila texted me screenshots from social media. The website was being shared in student groups at my old university. People were commenting, arguing about whether I was victim or villain. My story had become entertainment. I couldn't focus in class the next day. Every student with a laptop made me paranoid. Were they looking at the website, reading the lies, forming opinions about me based on my parents' fiction? Dr. McCatherine, my new chemistry professor, asked me to stay after class. "I received an interesting email this morning," she said, "about a student with a dangerous history. It included a link to a rather elaborate website." My heart sank. "I can explain." "No need. I've seen smear campaigns before. The question is, what are you going to do about it?" "What can I do? It's hosted offshore. It's protected speech. I'm just supposed to live with it." She leaned against her desk, studying me. "You know what I find interesting? The website focuses entirely on your supposed mental instability. But you're here, functioning, succeeding in a demanding chemistry program. Actions speak louder than websites." It was a small comfort, but I held on to it. Actions over words, evidence over lies. That night, I got an email from an address I didn't recognize. The subject line made my blood run cold. "We know where you are." The message was simple. "Transfer didn't help. Drop out or we escalate. You have 1 week." Attached was a photo of me walking to class that morning, taken from maybe 50 feet away, zoomed in. The metadata had been scrubbed, but the message was clear. They were watching. I forwarded it to Benjamin and filed a report with campus security. They promised to increase patrols, but we all knew it was meaningless. My parents had proven they could operate from a distance. Tyler worked through the night trying to trace the email. "It's bounced through a dozen proxies," he reported. "But I found something interesting. The photo was taken with a specific model of camera. High-end, not a phone. Professional equipment." So your parents don't know anything about photography. Someone else took this, the law firm. They were funding more than just legal fees. They'd hired someone to watch me, document my movements, build their case that I was unstable and paranoid. Except I wasn't paranoid if they were actually following me. I started carrying a camera of my own, taking photos of anyone who seemed to be watching me. Campus security thought I was overreacting, but I didn't care. If they were documenting me, I'd document them right back. 3 days into my 1-week deadline, Jonah called with news. "Remember how I kept the blackmail letter? I had a friend in the chemistry department run some tests. The paper has trace amounts of a specific hand lotion, prescription strength for severe eczema. My mom has eczema," I said, pulse quickening. "I know, and here's the kicker. This particular prescription is only available in 3 states. Arizona is one of them." It was another piece of evidence, another link in the chain. But would it be enough? The website updated daily with new content. Concerned citizens shared stories about encountering me. A whole section devoted to analyzing my cold delusion appeared, complete with fake expert commentary. My grades started slipping again, not from the harassment directly, but from the time I spent documenting everything, building my counter case, trying to stay 1 step ahead. Then Victoria called again. This time, she was crying. "They did it," she sobbed. "They sent the photos to my mom about my dad's affair. My parents are getting divorced because of this." "Victoria, I'm so sorry. I'm going to testify," she interrupted. "I don't care anymore. They destroyed my family. I'm going to tell everyone how they blackmailed me. It was a breakthrough, but at a terrible cost. My parents had destroyed another family just to get to me. The next day, 2 more students came forward. They'd received similar blackmail attempts and had kept the letters. One had even recorded a phone call where a woman matching my mother's voice threatened to expose his academic misconduct if he didn't provide a statement against me. Benjamin compiled everything into a massive filing. "This is it," he said. "This proves systematic harassment, witness tampering, and conspiracy. No judge can ignore this." But my parents had one more card to play. I woke up on day 6 of their deadline to find my dorm room door slightly open again. This time, something was different. A single piece of paper lay on my desk, placed precisely in the center. It was a photo of my grandmother, recent, based on her clothes, taken outside her new apartment building. At the bottom, someone had written, "She looks fragile. Accidents happen." I called her immediately, hands shaking. "I'm fine," she assured me. "But yes, I've noticed someone hanging around. I've informed building security. You need to leave. Stay with a friend. Go on a trip. Something. I'm not running from them anymore. Neither should you." But the threat was clear. They'd escalated from destroying my reputation to threatening physical harm. Not to me. They knew I could handle cold, handle pain, but to the one person I couldn't protect from a distance. I called Benjamin. They threatened my grandmother. Forward me everything. This changes the game. Threatening elderly relatives is something judges take very seriously. I spent that night on the phone with Tyler and Camilla, planning. If my parents wanted to escalate, we'd be ready. Tyler had been building a comprehensive digital case file. Camilla had been organizing support from other students who'd been threatened. "We go on offense," Tyler said. "They think you're alone and scared. Show them you're not." The next morning, day 7 of their deadline, I did something they didn't expect. I went to class. I took my chemistry exam. I submitted my lab report. I lived my life. The email came that afternoon. "You were warned. Now face the consequences." Within an hour, the website had updated with new content. Photoshopped images of me that looked real enough to fool anyone who didn't look closely. Fabricated police reports from towns I'd never visited. A whole narrative painting me as a dangerous drifter who left destruction in my wake. But we were ready. Tyler launched our countersite within minutes. Clean, simple, factual. It contained every piece of real evidence we'd collected. The journal photos, the blackmail letters, the recorded phone calls, the identity theft proof, everything. We didn't editorialize. We just presented facts, documents, recordings, metadata. Let people draw their own conclusions. The law firm responded within hours, sending cease and desist letters. Benjamin fired back with his own legal threats. The battle moved from the shadows into the open. Then Agent McCatherine called. "We've been monitoring the situation," she said. "The website, the threats, all of it. We're accelerating our investigation. Can you come in tomorrow?" I drove 3 hours to the FBI field office, bringing boxes of evidence. The interview lasted 6 hours. They wanted everything. Every email, every photo, every timestamp. "Your parents made a mistake threatening your grandmother," Agent McJonathan said. "Elder abuse is a federal crime. Combined with the identity theft and wire fraud charges, they're looking at serious time. What about the law firm? That's complicated, but the money trail Tyler uncovered is interesting. We're looking into it." I drove back to campus feeling something I hadn't felt in months. Hope. Real investigations were happening. Real consequences were coming. But my parents had one final play. I arrived back to find my car vandalized again. This time it wasn't just scratches. The windows were shattered, the tires slashed, and painted across the hood in red. "Drop out or drop dead." Campus security called the real police this time. The threat was too explicit to ignore. They found security footage from a nearby building, grainy, but clear enough to show 2 figures, one matching my father's build. "It's not definitive," the officer said, "but combined with everything else," Benjamin called while I was still giving my statement. "They violated bail conditions. Being on your campus, vandalizing property, making threats. The judge revoked their bail. They're being arrested as we speak." I sat on the curb next to my destroyed car, feeling numb. After 3 years of escalation, it was ending with them behind bars. Camilla and Tyler drove through the night to be with me. We sat in my dorm room, watching news reports on Tyler's laptop. Both my parents had been arrested. Mom at a grocery store, Dad at his brother's house. They were being held without bail pending trial. "It's over," Camilla said. "No," I replied. "It's just beginning. Trials, testimony, years of legal battles. But they can't hurt you anymore." I thought about the website. Still live, still spreading lies. The law firm, still operating, still building their case. The damage to my reputation that might never heal. "They already have," I said. But that night, for the first time in years, I slept without checking my locks 3 times, without jumping at every sound, without wondering what fresh hell tomorrow would bring. My parents were in jail. Their campaign of terror had finally crossed too many lines. The system they'd tried to manipulate had turned against them. I still couldn't feel cold the way others did. My body still carried the adaptation from all those nights locked outside. But I'd developed other adaptations too. Hypervigilance, documentation instincts, the ability to spot lies in metadata. The trial was set for 6 months out. Benjamin warned it would be brutal. They'd attack my character, try to justify their actions, paint me as the villain one more time. But I had something they didn't. Truth. Documented, verified, backed up in triplicate. Every photo time-stamped, every threat recorded, every lie exposed. exposed. I changed my major to pre-law with a focus on cybersecurity. If I was going to spend years fighting legal battles, I might as well learn the system from the inside. Dr. McCatherine wrote me a recommendation. Your resilience in the face of systematic harassment demonstrates the kind of strength the legal profession needs, she wrote. Tyler helped me build a new security system. Encrypted communications, anonymous browsing, digital footprint minimization. If anyone tried to track me again, they'd find only what I wanted them to find. Camila started a support group for harassment victims at her school. Within a month, she had dozens of members. Turns out my story wasn't unique, just more extreme than most. My grandmother moved again, this time to a senior community with serious security, gated entrance, camera systems, background checks for all visitors. She joked that it was like living in a fortress, but I heard the relief in her voice. The website stayed up, but our counter-site gained traction. Journalists started investigating. The law firm's other cases came under scrutiny. Turns out they had a pattern of funding harassment campaigns against abuse victims. 3 months into the new semester, I got a call from Victoria. I wanted you to know, my parents are working things out, she said, and I'm testifying at the trial. So are 6 other students they blackmailed. I'm sorry you got dragged into this. I'm not. It taught me to stand up to bullies, even when they're someone's parents. The trial date approached. I spent winter break preparing with Benjamin, going over every piece of evidence, every timeline, every photo. My parents had hired new lawyers, but their options were limited from jail. A week before the trial, the law firm suddenly withdrew from the case. Tyler's investigation had prompted a federal probe into their practices. They were too busy saving themselves to fund my parents' defense anymore. My parents' new public defenders reached out about a plea deal. Benjamin laughed when he told me the terms they proposed. They want probation and a promise from you not to pursue civil charges, he said. They're dreaming. What do you recommend? Trial. Let them face what they've done in open court. Let 12 jurors see the evidence. Let it all be public record. I thought about all the nights locked outside, all the lies they'd spread, all the damage they'd done. Part of me wanted to take a deal, just to end it, but that's what they were counting on, that I'd choose peace over justice. Trial, I said. The news covered jury selection. My story had become regional news. Parents who weaponize the internet against their daughter face federal charges. The headlines were sensational, but at least they were accurate. I returned to campus for spring semester changed, still unable to feel cold, but no longer afraid. My parents' worst had come and gone. I'd survived it all. The trial started on a Monday in March. I sat in the gallery, not required to be there, but needing to see it. My parents in orange jumpsuits, looking smaller than I remembered. They didn't look at me. The prosecution laid out the case methodically. Evidence of abuse going back to my childhood. The journal, the photos, the escalation after I left, the fake documents, the blackmail, the threats. When they showed the photo of 8-year-old me locked outside in winter, several jurors looked sick. When they played the recording of my mother threatening Victoria, one juror wiped away tears. My parents' defense was predictable. They were concerned parents. I was troubled. They'd gone too far, but only out of love. The fake documents were misguided attempts to get me help. Then the prosecution showed the website. Every lie cataloged. Every photoshopped image exposed. The money trail from the law firm laid bare. On day 3, I testified. Benjamin had prepared me, but sitting in that chair, looking at the people who'd raised me and then tried to destroy me, was harder than I'd expected. I told the truth, simply, clearly, without embellishment. The abuse, the cold, the mold, the campaign of harassment. I let the evidence speak for itself. My mother's lawyer tried to paint me as vindictive. You destroyed their house with mold, didn't you? I made them experience a fraction of what they put me through, I said. They locked a child outside in winter. I made their house uncomfortable. There's a difference. You admit to deliberately making them sick? I admit to defending myself the only way I could. The jury deliberated for 6 hours. Guilty on all counts. Identity theft, wire fraud, witness tampering, conspiracy, elder abuse for threatening my grandmother. The judge sentenced them to 5 years each. Real prison, not minimum security. They'd serve at least 3 with good behavior. As they were led away, my mother finally looked at me. No apology in her eyes, just rage that I'd won.